Listen, I hold these values dear because I've lived them. I've spent my whole life chasing the American dream.
We're all a little verklempt today, aren't we, the day after the election?
Eric Cantor would say he's a little verklempt for sure.
He is. And what do you say next?
I say top line starts now.
Yay. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Top Line. I'm Amy Walter.
And I'm John Berman.
Well, you know that every single day we bring you the latest, the greatest, the breaking, all unscripted, all live. And we're still here on the 2010 set, Vote 2010 Lounge.
But
you know that the election's over because we no longer have the Vote 2010 carafe.
That's right.
We're back to the TV3 prop department.
But this
carafe.
is the prototype for the 2012 carafe. I think this will be the 2012
I think that is
carafe
perfect.
Right here. Let me just caress the carafe.
Yes, well, and while you're doing that, which we're going to get FCC booted for that, why don't you give me your first top line?
All right, my first top line is the following. Blue Dog Blues, the so-called moderate Democrats in the House, almost half of them gone, completely gone, including big names like Taylor, Spratt, Skelton, going home.
I know. It's really kind of remarkable, isn't it, when you think about the Stephanie Herseths and the number of moderate Democrats who were elected both as freshmen and sophomores, but the old-time ones who made it through wave after wave election. This is the one that ousted them.
Empty seats at those coffee parties.
Ooh, good point. Okay, the next top line is the not-so-outsiders. For all the talk about the Tea Party, there will be a Senate with no O'Donnell, no Engel, no McMahon, no Racy. But there will be a Congress with a whole lot of former members of Congress, as far as actually former members of Congress or current members of Congress.
You might be able to call them career politicians.
Oh, perhaps.
Not so outsidery. No C. Thomas Howells or Ralph Macchios here. But we all hope they stay gold, Pony Boy. All right, my next top line. Palin. I know how to say it. Sarah Palin. It's not the first time I've seen her name. Sarah Palin. She bats at least 500 in her picks. That's not bad in baseball.
No,
is that good? Do we think that's good?
I think she is a winner no matter what she does because
you sound like my mom.
She gets. I know you're a winner no matter what.
You're a winner.
You know what? Listen. All that matters is that she is getting more airtime than just about anybody else today.
Even Christine O'Donnell.
Well, Christine O'Donnell got a lot of airtime.
She got a lot of airtime,
too,
right.
All right, and finally, State House swing. It wasn't just the House and the Senate where Republicans picked up. They did really well at the state legislative level. The National Conference of State Legislatures says this is the highest point for Republicans in state legislative bodies since 1928. 18 legislative bodies flipped, and as you know, Mr. Berman, that's a big deal for redistricting.
It's huge. I mean, this is epic, and it was happening while you were not looking.
Right.
And it may have the biggest lasting impact, on the next 10 years.
Well, that is an excellent segue to our guest here, who is in our Top Line studios in Washington, D.C. Is everything still there? We haven't been there in a while. Looks like it's all nailed down.
There was a huge storm here last night and a flood came through, but we're still standing.
All right, this is Matt Bennett from The Third Way. Matt, we just talked a lot about the fact that a lot of these blue dogs, moderates, gone. What does this say to you about the Democrats going forward?
What it says is that moderate voters abandoned Democrats in droves yesterday. What happened was, if you look at the exit polling from 2006, the last midterm election, where Democrats did quite well, and then with yesterday, it's very clear that the percentage of the electorate that identifies itself as liberal, about 20%, stayed exactly the same. It was the same number in 2006 and yesterday. What happened is there was a red shift among moderates. People who had been moderates now call themselves conservatives by 8 points. 8 points of voters shifted from moderate to conservative. They voted for Republicans, and that was a gigantic difference maker.
Who's going to be pushing for this third way, though, now? I mean, now that all these blue dogs are gone, who's going to be carrying the flag, on the House floor?
Well, it's a great question. I think first and foremost it's going to be President Obama. The president, I think, woke up to a very different Washington this morning, and he has been preparing for months to face a Congress that's going to look quite different, that it was almost certain to be in Republican hands in the House. And I think he is going to be the one who does not want to waste 2 years of his presidency, that wants to make progress, that is absolutely determined to make progress on the economy and growth. And so I think he's going to be the one pushing for some of these moderate ideas. And I believe that his colleagues in the House are going to go along.
Is he comfortable, you think, in that third way?
Well, we think so. We hope so. Nobody really knows what he's going to do except for him. And I think a lot remains to be seen given how the elections among the House Republican leadership shake out. I mean, if they elect people like Michelle Bachmann into their leadership and send a signal that they are not going to compromise at all, that'll be a significant signal to the White House about how much they can reasonably get done.
Well,
if, on the other hand, the leaders like Boehner and Cantor and Senator McConnell send signals that they don't want to sit around and do nothing for 2 years, I think the president will take them at their word.
Matt Bennett, do you blame then the Speaker? Is this Nancy Pelosi's issue here, that she pushed way too hard on some of these issues and put a lot of these moderates on the spot? Is that why we had the big red take over here?
I really do not blame Speaker Pelosi. I think that she, in fact, was surprisingly, at least to us, surprisingly sensitive to the needs of the moderate members in her caucus. She did her best to reach out to them and to do things for them and make it politically salient for them. She gave a lot of them passes on some of the tougher votes, like health care reform and cap and trade.
Even though a lot of them who did vote against health care still lost yesterday.
Indeed. But this election wasn't like elections past, where you could point to one or two big votes that really made the difference. In 1994, the last big takeover year for Republicans, you could point to not only the failure of healthcare reform, but the votes on the Clinton budget in '93 and on the crime bill in 1994. And those were the things that clearly were motivating voters. I mean, the Republicans were waving goodbye to Democratic members of the Congress as they cast their ballots on the House floor. This time it's different. The voter anger, I think, is much more generalized and inchoate. It wasn't directed at any particular piece of legislation. There was a lot of talk about health care, a lot of talk about the TARP and the stimulus and about the financial reg reform, but no one really can point to one thing and say that was the thing that killed us.
And Matt, the Democrats will be the opposition party in the House. The question is, if you are part of that House and you are part of those Democrats, opposition to what? Where do you draw the line? What do you stand up against?
Right, that's a great question. I think a lot of that'll be answered by the president. Obviously, he will have the last word on what becomes law. My guess is that given the way the power structure works in the House Republicans will do a lot of mischief making. They will do things like perhaps pass a repeal of the health care bill, which will have no hope of passing the Senate and would be vetoed anyway. And they'll do a lot of investigative work. They'll send a blizzard of subpoenas down Pennsylvania Avenue. So I think House Democrats are going to be fighting rearguard actions against some of that mischief. But I think where the rubber will really meet the road is on things like raising the debt ceiling, passing a budget, dealing with the middle-class tax cuts that are about to expire, the things that must be done, and I think that's where House Democrats are going to have a real role to play in shaping legislation.
Matt Bennett, thank you very much for joining us. We will have your parting mug next time you come in.
I'm looking forward to it.
Thank you.